Hello my friends, this is Amner Hunter from amnerhunter.com. In today's video, I am gonna be mixing a song using only 4 plugins that were updated recently by the company Analog Obsession. Pretty cool enhancer plugins that I wanna show you. The first one, it's the PREDD. The next one, it's the ReLife. Then we have the SweetBox and the SweetDrums. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to use these plugins. Also, I am gonna analyze what these plugins do to the signal, to the audio, right? And then I'm gonna put these plugins to the test to see if I can improve a mix using only these 4 plugins by Analog Obsession. As usual, all the applicable links are going to be down below in the description and the first comment. And don't forget to check out the timestamps as well that I leave you down below. Thanks for being here and welcome. Before we dive into the content, my friends, I would like to invite you to my website, amnerhunter.com, where I have some freebies for you. I have some free PDF guides and ebooks for music producers and guitar players. Also, I have some free tools available, a huge collection of guitar impulses, among other utilities, and I will be adding new stuff very soon. And finally, don't forget to check out my blog and this channel, which I'm updating weekly with tons of free content. So without further ado, let's get to the video. The PREDD, this is a preamp simulator, right? So it will add a ton of character to any signal just by turning on the plugin, and with the settings by default, it's changing the signal a bit. It's adding a little bit of harmonics, which we're gonna analyze in a moment. First, we have the mic and DI signal. I would suggest that you use the microphone preamp for some elements that, for instance, vocals, for drums as well. DI signal works good with instruments that were recorded straight into the interface, for instance, through the DI. But I found that microphone input is the one that I enjoyed using the most. Here you have a voltage gain. Where you increase the gain, it will add more saturation and distortion to the signal, not in a bad way. This is a pad that will decrease 20 decibels to the signal. Then you have 2 EQ moves also. You can add a high pass filter or a rumble filter, 30 Hz all the way up to 180 Hz, very useful. Then you have a high frequency boost here, as you can see, to add a little bit of brightness. This pole switch is to flip the phase, to flip the polarity of any signal. Then you have a fine gain set, which will increase 5 decibels of gain or decrease 5 as well. And then you have the output knob to compensate any loss or gain in volume. Then you can turn off the plugin by clicking on this red light or just clicking on this switch. If you click on the Analog Obsession logo, you are gonna enable oversampling. Of course, you're gonna use more CPU power. I suggest that you use oversampling enabled in mastering situations. Now let's check out the harmonic generation that the PREDD applies to the signal. So I am generating with a tone generator a sine wave at 500 Hz. As soon as you add the plugin, it will automatically add the harmonic at 1000 Hz. A second order harmonic is being added, so it's adding something to the signal. That's what saturation does and also emulates what analog consoles add to the signal. Let's increase here with this voltage gain, and you are applying more harmonics to the signal, right? So if you add more gain here, you will start to increase other harmonics to the signal. This is pretty much saturation at its core. So if we turn off the plugin and turn it on, we see the harmonics that we have created with this plugin. Now let's listen to this plugin in action in different elements of a mix. The second plugin it's the ReLife. This plugin was built to bring more life to dull tracks, for instance. Let's analyze the way it uses to create that. As soon as you turn on the plugin, changes something in the signal, probably half dB. It increases the volume. So we have the input knob, which is totally gain compensated. The more you increase this, you can find the sweet spot where the element of your mix need a little bit of life. This works hand in hand with the live control here. If you double click, it resets by default. Then you have this shape control that will make this equalization move to the signal, which is very useful on drums, on bass guitar, for instance. It removes a little bit of boxiness that it's around low mid-range area. It will add a little bit of lows and a little bit of boost in the highs. I like to do this a lot using equalization, but now with this plugin, you have this one knob that will do this for you very quickly. This live button will add harmonics. We're gonna analyze that in a moment. And then you have a mix knob to blend the dry signal with the processed signal. Pretty useful to have a mix knob. Here you have an output control in case that you want to compensate any volume that you lost or gained. As most of Analog Obsession plugins, you click on the logo and it enables oversampling. I recommend using oversampling mostly in mastering situations to avoid digital distortion in high-end frequencies. Now let's analyze the harmonic generation. As soon as you start the plugin, it automatically adds some harmonics, right? At 1500 Hertz, then 2500, so on and so forth, right? And you can play with the other knobs to see what they add to the signal using your ears, of course. But sometimes these things cannot be heard exactly. Now let's listen to this plugin in action. Now let's move on with the next plugin. This is the SweetBox, which Analog Obsession claims that this is an intelligent processor for vocals with a de-esser included, right? It's very simple to use, very minimalistic, right? This process knob includes some dynamic equalization, some filters, some saturation and compression. It's very complex what this knob it's doing, but let's try to understand it here. Whatever it does, it works. So as soon as you start the plugin, this is what it does to the signal, right? So it increases a little bit of the low end, a small dip here in the mid range, and a little boost on the high end. Let's now increase this process knob. This is what it's doing to the signal, right? Pretty cool. It's also applying compression and saturation. It's removing a little bit of low end, but it's also adding another part of the low end and mid range. It's also increasing the brightness of the vocals, for instance. Now let's analyze the de-esser alone. The more you increase this knob, it's removing a little bit of information in the high end, but it's definitely working more on the high end with compression. This is the output control just to compensate. This plugin doesn't come with oversampling option. If you click in the SweetBox logo, it will disable or enable the plugin, and you have this couple of lights that will turn on when the processing of these two knobs started to actually being applied to the signal. So now let's analyze the harmonics. If you increase this process knob, it will add some harmonics, as you see here, right? Quite a lot of harmonics throughout the frequency spectrum. So that's the saturation that it's adding. Let's increase the de-esser, and it will start to add a little bit of harmonics as well. Now let's take a listen to this plugin in action.
Open up your ears! Can you see what's coming here? Move open on muscles of the oppressed! Can you see what's coming down? Final throw the price of back! We strike through the streets, the forces will be heard! Open up your ears! Can you see what's coming here? Move open on muscles of the oppressed! Can you see what's coming down? Final throw the price of back!
Aos olhos do caos, onde a cegueira te mata, distante do mal, que inevitável te ataca. A verdade vira essência dessa rebeldia. Dia e noite, noite e dia, dia e noite, noite e dia. Eu vou buscar o que é nosso diante da multidão, sem medo do revés. Enfrenta a escuridão, ser racional diante da atitude. De forma rude, a virtude é o coração de ferro, que no enferruja funde.
Now let's go with the final plugin of this list. This is the SweetDrums. It is also an intelligent processor for drums that it involves a ton of things in just one knob. So pretty simple to use, but a lot of things are happening under the hood. As soon as you turn on the plugin, it creates this subtle EQ curve. This is the input knob that will feed the processing that is happening here. The output knob. On this process knob, you will add saturation, compression, and also some character and equalization with dynamics. This is the curve that it creates. To me, it's very useful because it cleans the drums. It adds some power in the low end and some brightness to the cymbals, adding compression and saturation. So you can use it on individual channels. You can use it on drum bus. Now let's analyze the harmonics that this plugin adds to the signal. I'm gonna increase the process knob to see if it adds harmonics. Let's increase this process knob. I am not seeing any harmonics till I add a little bit of input that will feed the saturation and compressor here. So there you go. Those are the harmonics that it's adding. So pretty cool because you are adding something that's not there in the first place. It's not as adding equalization, right? Because you're only working with what's there. With saturation, you are adding something else, something that it's not there. So now let's take a listen this plugin in action and also some before and after tests. Please let me know down below in the comments, my friends, what are your thoughts on this new updated plugins by Analog Obsession. How would you use them? Also, let me know which one was your favorite out of these 4 plugins. I'll be more than glad to read your comments about this. Before we go, my friends, I would like to invite you to my website, amnorhunter.com, where I have some cool freebies for you. I have some free PDF guides and ebooks for music producers and guitar players. Also, I have some free tools available, a huge collection of guitar impulses, some presets of some plugins that I use, and I will be adding new stuff soon. And of course, don't forget to check out my blog and this channel, which I'm updating weekly with tons of free content. Thank you very much for watching the video. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you very soon in the next one. All right? Take care.